any idea right now what those issues are? Because Beijing still says that there are other remaining issues which they're discussing.
Yes, so we are getting some indication that the issues remaining surround the intellectual property. Of course, the U.S. accuses China of stealing the intellectual property of American companies and forced technology transfers. Those, if you remember, are the foundation of the tariffs. That's the reason why the U.S. sort of started this trade war to begin with over concerns about those issues. So one would think that any outstanding loose threads to tie up around that would be pretty important. But, you know, it is a positive sign that we hear from President Trump himself that things are moving forward. He, you know, when things aren't going very well, we seem to find out through tweets, and he's pretty vocal about that. So if we do take him at his word, it seems to be, you know, another good sign, but still no trade deal yet.
In a practical sense, Sarah, what does this mean? Does this mean no new tariffs on December 15 and potentially a rollback of the existing tariffs as China wants?
Well, presumably it probably does mean that the U.S. is willing to give something on tariffs. And I only say this because we know that that's China's #1 demand in these talks. And one may think that it'd be hard for Beijing to stay at the table if the U.S. wasn't talking about potentially at least delaying new tariffs. We have these December 15 tariffs coming up, or even rolling back some of the existing ones. So, you know, we're not getting a lot of official details, but we do know that these sort of demand over the tariffs from China is in play right now. And if progress is being made, one can presume that the U.S. is at least discussing the possibility of removing or delaying new ones.
And President Trump, though, weighing in on the Hong Kong election, saying that he does want to see things go well in Hong Kong, quote. Will this put a damper on the trade negotiations?
Again, you know, it's yet another issue that hangs over the talks. And I think that, you know, the president, as any negotiator you may think would want to do, is just sort of leave open the possibility for stronger action in the case of the Hong Kong protests, for instance, as he sees how these negotiations play out. At the same time, he probably won't want to take any drastic action, something that would anger China, because he doesn't want to risk scuttling the trade talks. So again, we have this balance going on where it seems like there's a lot of balls in the air right now, a lot of unanswered questions. And, you know, sometime before December 15th, when these new tariffs are supposed to take effect, or on the day of, we should be able to see tangibly whether the Trump administration is willing to keep the negotiations going with, you know, by delaying these tariffs.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that the president says, well, trade and Hong Kong aren't linked, but how does China see it? Because if that Hong Kong bill were to be signed into law or not vetoed by the president, China would likely not take a very good view of it, would they?
Absolutely. You know, conceivably, China, if the bill was signed by President Trump, China may use that as a point of tension, I suppose, in the talks, to be able, the trade negotiations, to be able to say, you know, that they were unhappy, and perhaps, you know, perhaps they wouldn't walk away, but it definitely would not help the mood in the room. And I think, you know, something as politically sensitive as this could have any sort of reaction from China that the U.S. may not want to test at this point, when they're trying to really just get along to get the best deal possible that they can bring on the campaign trail in 2020. So, you know, we'll have to see again how that plays out, but it does seem like it's strategic right now that Trump hasn't signed the bill and that he's waiting.